Speaker, I'm very glad that we're spending some time today talking about the Canadian economy.
Can she tell Jose why, according to Bloomberg, Canada has the second worst housing bubble in the world? When the Prime Minister thought, who should I buy them from? He looked around the world and he said, I know, the country that's holding our people hostage.
I am grateful to have been born in a small rural community in Hastings, Lennox, and Addington. However, the reality is rural living has many challenges, and the policies of this government is making it even harder. Many people in my riding are finding it increasingly difficult to survive. Whether it's fuel, groceries, rent, or propane, inflation is hitting everything. Your family should not have to decide between feeding your family a nutritious meal, putting gas in the vehicle, or heating your home. That's right. I implore this government to focus on helping Canadians with the dramatically rising cost of everything. Mr. Speaker, it's not just inflation. It's about this government's inability or unwillingness to recognize that people are hurting and they need help now.
Yes. The honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Canada is facing an economic crisis and a unity crisis. It's time for government to stop dividing, stop picking winners and losers, and be a unifying force.
Of everything go up, while the Liberals have been denying that their policies would cause inflation. However, by the end of last week, the Finance Minister was calling inflation a crisis. She just doesn't think the Liberals are responsible for it. It's almost like she's printing money so that she never runs out of bucks to pass. But, Mr. Speaker, if the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister believe that this is a crisis, what is she prepared to do to deal with it?
Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the member opposite would have Canadians believe that inflation is a made-in-Canada problem. But experts agree that this is an international challenge that all of our peer countries are facing too. In fact, last week, even the leader of the opposition admitted that rising inflation is, quote, a global phenomenon. So I have a question to offer for the member opposite. Who is the real voice of economic policy for the Conservatives? The leader of the opposition, or the deputy leader, or maybe the member for Carleton?
Honourable member for Portage Lisbon.
Protected from COVID-19 until everyone is protected. Yes. The Omicron variant makes this clear. For months, health experts, the WHO, and New Democrats urged this government to ensure vaccines are available around the world. This is not just for equity reasons, but because it's essential to keep Canadians safe from new COVID variants. Not only did Liberals ignore this advice, they opposed developing countries manufacturing vaccines for their own citizens. Will the Liberals stop defending Big Pharma and start protecting Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
I'm very clear from the start. No one is safe.
27-year-old Jose of Greeley called me on Friday from his parents' basement. I see Liberals laughing about that. He can't afford a home. He has a job, the same job his mother had, in fact, but while her family could afford a 2-acre lot and a nice property to raise the kids, he can't even afford a condo. He wanted to know why during COVID, while wages were down and immigration was next to zero, house prices rose under this Liberal minister by 22%. Can she tell Jose why, according to Bloomberg, Canada has the second worst housing bubble in the world?
Full Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me talk about some of the very specific ways our government is helping Canadians with the very real challenge of affordability. A single parent with 2 children will receive $13,600 from the Canada Child Benefit. The average family in Saskatchewan will get almost $1,000 from their carbon price rebate. Seniors received an extra $500 this summer. A student will save more than $3,000 through our plan to eliminate federal interest on student and apprentice loans.
Well, member for Carleton.
Well, the problem for Jose is he actually can't start a family without a house. And he can't get a house because under this minister, housing prices are up 20%, led by increases in land prices. You can't blame land prices on supply chains because land doesn't have supply chains, Mr. Speaker. The reality is that we have the second biggest land mass in the world, and yet the second biggest housing bubble on planet Earth, with only New Zealand, an island in the South Pacific, having more expensive housing. So again, can this minister please explain why under her short tenure as finance minister, housing prices are up 22%?
The Honourable.
From his parents' basement. I see Liberals laughing about that. He can't afford a home. He has a job, the same job his mother had, in fact, but while her family could afford a 2-acre lot and a nice property to raise the kids, he can't even afford.
Mr. Speaker, it is very rich for the honourable member to talk about housing. When he was in office, they invested just $250 million a year on affordable housing.
I'm going to interrupt the Honourable Minister. I'm having a hard time hearing him. I'm going to ask him to start right from the start again so I can hear the whole answer coming out. The Honourable Minister.
So his defense on housing is that not only are homes more expensive under this government than they were under the previous Conservatives, the programming is now 100 times more expensive. So now it's more expensive for home buyers and for taxpayers. But I noticed the Minister of Finance was too afraid to get up and answer a question about house price inflation that she has caused. I was specifically asking about the 20% increase in both land prices and housing prices since she took her job. She can't pass the buck to another minister or to another country. When will she explain why house prices have risen so much?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very glad that we're spending some time today talking about the Canadian economy. And as Finance Minister, let me point out what is the single most important economic policy in Canada today. And that, as the emergence of a new variant on Friday has reminded us, is the fight against COVID. It is not over, and the single most important tool in our toolbox.
I see Liberals laughing about that. He can't afford a home. He has a job, the same job his mother had, in fact, but while her family could afford a 2-acre lot and a nice